Hey, Sonder family, you've made it to the very last kindness social of the month. We have a kind of a smallish group tonight, so I'm so excited to have this intimate time with y'all. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. And I get to be your on camera facilitator, but you have Team Jennifer on the call this evening. My co facilitator is Jennifer Krippner. We got to see each other yesterday morning and start the week out together for our weekly setup. And Jennifer's going to be hanging out in the chat and visiting with y'all. Um, and we're just like it's Thanksgiving week. I know we're probably all a little off. Maybe that's why we're a little small tonight as well. But I love that. Andrea, can anyone Andrea, I think the difference between dressing and stuffing, I think dressing is when it's cooked separately from the bird, and stuffing is when it's stuffed in the bird. I don't know. So you're just joining in. That's okay. Yeah, maybe you can hop on, listen to us now, hang with us as long as you want. We're really glad that y'all are here in all forms and fashion. And some of y'all have already had these big thorns thrown your way. You've got illnesses, surgeries, things that you're dealing with that's making Thanksgiving look a little bit different this year. Different is okay. Remember that. And you'll probably figure out some ways to make it really special. And yes, Savannah, I call it stuffing, but it's not cooked on the inside. But I guess I don't know, but it is one of my favorite parts of the meal. Make sure your chat says to everyone. I've been watching the names. I think we're all set up okay so we can communicate with each other. We're actually going to be supporting each other with our opening activity. So we'll be relying on input in the chat. I cooked a little bit this morning. I'm going to cook a little bit tomorrow, and then we'll cook a lot on Thursday. So trying to get it all taken care of. But I think I'm excited that this social was saved for the week of Thanksgiving because I think it's really going to put our heads in the right space as we consider gratitude in our lives, especially through that lens of our kindness theme of the month. Yeah, so I'm just so glad y'all are here. And yeah, Jen, that's hard. I've shared before. I understand what you're saying about your folks not being here, and it's the second year, and it's like becomes very poignant around the holidays. And when my mother-in-law lived into her 90s, and when she did pass away, we all just muttered around. We didn't know how to do holidays without her. So things look different. But we celebrate the years that we did have, and different has slowly learned, we're learning how it can be good too and make our own memories. It's just weird when you're now in charge of all of that stuff, right? All righty. So community guidelines are right there. Is there possibly anyone joining a social for the very first time? This is your very first time to come hang out with the Sonder family. We would love for you to just give a little shout out in the chat. Just say me, because we want to give you a welcome. And I see so many familiar names who are here. Yeah, and Georgette, you're so right. You just still learn. You just learn every day how to keep going without those people. So, anyhow, I love to see that y'all are here. We always share these community guidelines. It just helps us keep these safe spaces for one another. I want to remind you that if ever anything feels tricky and you need to sit with it till you're in a better headspace, give yourself permission to do that. That's that number 7 there about, just taking good care of your well-being and your emotions. So yeah, we're gonna finish up our month of kindness. I do have a code for you tonight. If you've been maybe making a holiday list, if you use Black 20, you'll get 20% off site wide on the silkandsonder.com website. So if you've been eyeing some things and you're like, I really want those stickers, or I'd love to, get a product for my kiddo or my grandkid and try out Um, like the Sonder Kids journals or whatever, all of that stuff is 20% off. And those storage boxes are lovely, aren't they, Michelle? So there's that. I'll share this again at the end. Of course, we're saying goodbye to kindness. We've done a lot of digging this month. Have most of y'all been part of weekly setups and you've done the week to week to week lookovers of that? That's my favorite part about looking at the themes is doing those weekly setups. So hopefully that you were going to you're going to be able to have this different understanding, or maybe you're noticing kindness in different ways since you've done some deep digging through there. So, oh, Melissa, we'd love to have you join a weekly setup. They're usually, on Saturdays and Sundays, they kind of alternate between mornings and evenings. And then there's a Monday morning social. So we'd love to have you join one of those. We share lots of ideas from other Sonder family members of how they use their journals. But you can also access the YouTube channel where all of our recordings of socials can be found. And Jennifer will be sharing all of that in the chat this evening. All righty, so let's get on with our time. We're going to have an opening activity. I'm really excited about this opening activity because it is a participation activity. We need everybody to support one another as we do that. We're going to do that kindness ripple effect. Really have a cool story to share with y'all about, this ripple effect. It's pretty cool. And then we're going to finish with bubbling with joy. And hopefully that'll put our minds in a really great place as we consider all the gratitude coming for the rest of the week. So, I know y'all have heard of random acts of kindness, and there are so many small ways we can make a difference in the world through a random act of kindness. Usually, a random act of kindness does not involve letting yourself be known that you did something. It's just these quiet moments. It's the things like, the person in front of you at the drive-through paid for your drink. And you're like, oh my gosh, that those random things. So tonight, we are going to think about random acts of kindness, and I've got a couple of ways I want to frame it out. But I love some of these on this graphic. Hold the door for someone. Leave a basket of balls at the dog park. Doesn't that sound like a fun thing to do? When you declutter and you donate to charity instead of throwing out, and you donate the good stuff. Maybe buy some school supplies for a teacher, compliment a stranger. All these beautiful ideas here. Now, hold on. We're going to tackle this by looking at it through the lens of the alphabet. And I'm calling this one the alphabet of kindness. And I'm going to invite you to turn to a notes page if you have any left. The end of the month, those are kind of far and few between. Or I've got a couple of other suggestions for you. We're going to be, we're going to use the alphabet to guide us as we generate random acts of kindness, one for every letter of the alphabet. I want to show you what I've done, and then I'm going to wait for your inspiration. And you can start with any letter, you can write in any order, but you also don't have to do the alphabet of kindness, but I'm going to show you what to do. There's mine. So I sat and I started writing it. And then you notice at the bottom, I've left bonus section because I knew when we were together, there were going to be such beautiful ideas that I was going to want to also include on mine. But you could also, if you want, you don't have to necessarily, you could still do the alphabet of kindness. We have our new December journals. Maybe this calendar page on page 5 becomes a place to put this random acts of kindness. Such a good activity for the upcoming holiday season. Or you could use maybe an unused tracker in your journal. Like maybe if you don't do Jennifer Krippner told me tonight, I'm going to do the sleep tracker page because I don't usually use it for a sleep tracker. And it's got, that's on page 12. So she's going to write her acts of kindness in the sleep tracker. And she said, and I like it because it says there's a spacer that says how I feel. So she'll take that idea of the flourishing mindset and really think about how she feels when she's performed that act of kindness. You could create a bingo board. You could make a scrap piece of paper list tonight and then plug it in some way to for the upcoming days. And then I'm going to encourage you to make this a group project. Involve like your family or friends or, coworkers. Who could you be in conspiracy with to do some, fun things? Oh, yeah, page 22. There you go. That's a good suggestion, Savannah. So I started with things like my A was allow someone to merge even if they're driving aggressively, because that's like a big deal on 635 in Dallas, Texas. B is for Band-Aids in my wallet. I'm going to make sure I fill my wallet with Band-Aids. So if I see a kid fall, I've got a Band-Aid at the ready to help someone. Compliment a stranger. D was drop a dollar bill. Like just drop a dollar bill in the middle of a store. I might have to hide and watch and see what happens. E was eye contact with a stranger. Really see them. Um, F, forward a positive quote, meme, or article to lift someone's spirit. So, using that idea of forwarding. So, yeah, I'm not going to read them all. I know y'all can read, but we're going to just spend some moments creating this list. It's such a good time of year to do it. With the holidays coming, it's the week of extreme Thanksgiving and gratitude, and we're saying goodbye to our theme of kindness. So, we will get going and just share as things pop up for you. And yeah, Christine, if you're not seeing it, you might need to log off and log back in and see if that will correct it. I don't think anybody else is having trouble. So yeah, okay, we're gonna watch for you. All right, so we've got, oh, and I've got some, I forgot to tell y'all this. So then I've also got some random acts of kindness for Christmas. Some other random acts of kindness over there, and 8 nights of Hanukkah kindness. So if that's a holiday you celebrate, you could maybe go centric for those 8 nights, and then another list of random acts of kindness. So we've got a lot of ideas here, and I'm just going to go slowly back and forth between these slides, but I'm also going to make sure that you can see that. And Jennifer just messaged me and said my slides aren't changing. So hopefully I'm kind of out in the country. I hope my internet. So Jennifer, keep me posted. I'm going to keep going back and forth. They're showing now. Okay, very good. I got a little thing that said internet was unstable. So here's to playing some music. And if anything weird happens, Jennifer's got access to the slides so we can swap over that duty. And I can't wait to see what you say, what you do. I want to fill up our alphabet. Y'all had some great ideas. Yes. Oh, leave a quarter in a cart at Aldi. Savannah, isn't it great? Like the day you don't have a quarter and you walk up and somebody has done that. It's the best. I think my favorite was Z for zip on. It's just zip my lip. Don't say the thing you want to say. I love that one. Y'all had some great ideas. So keep them coming as the evening goes on. If something pops into your head about this. And I really do hope that you take these acts of kindness into this upcoming season, that you figure out a way to hold yourself accountable for tackling that random act of kindness list, that you either make it a bingo or you schedule time in your calendar each week to make sure that you follow through with that. So thank you so much for participating in that and sharing in the chat some great ideas. I was able to fill up the bottom of my page. So now I'm going to invite you to turn to page 15. And we're going to look at this page, the kindness ripple effect. And it says in the innermost circle, so the smallest one, write about an act of kindness you performed or received recently. I'm going to tell you, you don't have to do one that was recent, it can be from a long time ago. And then in the outer circles, those surrounding circles, write about the potential impact that that single act of kindness might have had. And think about how it could further inspire kindness and positivity in others. So you might want to reflect on, way, 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 way back that there was something that was a catalyst for lots of other things in your life. And you may do something and never know what those actions were. But I want you to just kind of use your imagination tonight and imagine what might have happened if you go in that direction. Like, you know, y- perhaps you've caused the ultimate result was world peace. Like just manifest big, right? Go big or go home. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be something that you absolutely know how it turned out. If you've started a ripple, what might happen? Imagine the most bestest thing ever. So I love this activity. I actually, oftentimes we'll look up what psychology says about things in our life, like the ripple effect. And there was a study published in Psychological Science, and it found that when people witnessed acts of kindness, okay, they didn't do them, they just saw them. They were more likely to then perform their own acts of kindness. So we can kind of take that thought like, if we do this and somebody saw that, what happened after that? And we can imagine really good things. So ultimately, it means that one small act of kindness can inspire others to do the same. And then that creates this ripple effect that could change the world. So I love this graphic. And for those of you who are of a certain age, a little bit older, you may remember there was a commercial for shampoo years and years and years ago. And the one gal is going, it's so good. I told two friends, and it splits to two more, and then they told two friends, and they told two friends, and so on and so on. And the whole screen fills with all these people washing their hair. And so, yes, the Breck shampoo. So I'm definitely giving my age, or yes, and so on and so on. And so that's the ripple effect. And I found this graphic that is kind of like that. So imagine you're the smiley up at the top. And let's say that you did something kind for three people, or even maybe three people saw you do something kind. And then it spreads and it spreads and it spreads and it spreads. And it says, imagine how many people would feel good if you were kind to everyone every day. And I thought this was a great graphic to kind of show that playing out of an act of kindness and how it could just, your one act could do so much without you ever knowing. So you can just imagine. So I've got some other ways to frame this out too. Um, you can think of the one small act of kindness like our question says, our prompt says, and then, think about the ripples that it created either in you or someone else. Write about an act you made that may have seemed unnoticed. What unseen ripples might it have created? Or you could write about a time when you felt the end ripple of someone else's kindness. I always think about my mother-in-law and all the many things she did for me. And I was on that very last ripple and how it affected my life because of the goodness that she put into my life in lots of different little acts. You could think of something from years ago that you still remember, and how does it influence you today? Um, you could describe what you'd love your personal, ripple legacy to be. Just write that and get bigger and bigger. Imagine tossing that stone of kindness into a pond. What word would be written on your stone? Or consider an act of kindness that you actually observed, and then how did it inspire you? So I've got some examples to share with you. So Kimberly is with us tonight, and this is hers on the left. And you can see that she sort of approached this ripple effect as to what came to her, but also what was sent out in love. So she's divided that in half. Thank you for sharing that, Kimberly. There weren't a lot of examples to share, so I appreciate it. And then there's Mr. Worryworm. And so, y'all, I have the best story to tell you about Mr. Worryworm. So, Mr. Worryworm came to my to a weekly setup with me, and it was when we were to think back on an act of kindness that someone had done, and I had shared when I was caring for my mother after her stroke. I found this worryworm in the public restroom of a hospital facility, medical facility, and it had a little thing with it about, don't worry, you're not in this world alone. You've got people with you. Just always remember that. And so I've kept that worry room. This is a couple of years ago, about 2.5 years ago. I've kept it. It hangs on my light on my desk at home. I brought this worry worm. This is such a good ripple effect story. I brought this worry worm story and the worm to my weekly setup to talk about this act of kindness and how that person wouldn't have ever known who found it at the right time when I needed a little encouragement. And then here I am, 2.5 years later, sharing it with all these amazing people of Sonder Club. Well, then Taylor was inspired by my worried worm and started making worry worms, which you see down in the bottom right. There's one of her worms that she is leaving out for people to find, to be reminded that they are not alone, that their universe is out there conspiring to be with them. And she's done her kindness ripple effect on that. So it's like I could do my kindness ripple effect on my worry worm and then take it into the kindness ripple effect that Taylor shared. It's such a great little story. And I know that the person who created that worry worm had no idea how it would influence and cause that ripple. And so to do that backwards and to go like we're talking about it right now, 2.5 years later, it's pretty amazing. So maybe there needs to be some reverse engineering in our ripple effects tonight. So while you think of your ripple effects, go ahead and again, if you're not really sure what you're doing, think of one small act of kindness and then maybe sort of manifest what you would like it to cause in the universe. Like if I leave the quarter in the shopping basket at Aldi for someone else, what could some potential ripples be? You imagine this person having a bad day and what that meant for that person, and then that person went back into their community and they did something big. So you can, create a story as well if you're not sure, kind of how a ripple effect happened in your life. So even like being here tonight, if you want to write about that worry worm and just that it made you smile, and that was part of that ripple effect. So I'm gonna put on some music. Y'all share in the chat the things that are coming up. I see some beautiful stories. I'm gonna go back and read them while y'all are working on this, but share as you're comfortable. I'm going to echo what Jennifer shared just a few chats back. She talked about that reading these stories and hearing about all these ripple effects just makes her feel so good to know that there are still people out here who care in this day and age. And so, thank you for sharing. Y'all had some beautiful ways of creating these ripples. And yes, it's as simple as taking a moment to compliment someone. And, you could take someone's day, like Andrea was talking about nurses, like just complimenting a nurse who may be having a terrible day and just got chewed out by somebody else. And then Andrea paid a compliment and how that could have turned the whole day around. And then the rest of the day, all the interactions she had with her patients were great. And then those patients felt better because they were treated kindly. So it's just those small acts when we stop for a moment to imagine what could come from them. So, thank you to all of you who shared. I hope that you were able to come up with something. And if not, think about maybe a small act of kindness that you can do and then just imagine, just invent the rest of the story. And then what happened, and then what happened, and just kind of put that good stuff out into the universe. So we're going to finish up tonight with our bubbling with joy page. When we did the theme of joy, it was one of my favorite themes to work with. So I was very excited that this one was included with our time together. And I'm going to invite you now to turn to page 16. And, we've got these fun little bubbles. They need to be colored for one, color them in, but we're going to just list 10 things that make us bubble with joy. What are those 10 things that just fill your heart and make you feel giddy and light? And once we have those down, we're encouraged to down at the bottom of the page, just sort of look and see if we notice any similarities, any themes in our life, the commonalities of it. And chances are that when you put these 10 things that make you bubble with joy, you're going to be leaning into some of your core values. You're going to find that is the theme that you see. So I've got a few examples from our Sonder family. This one on the left across the top of the page, I must fight for joy. I loved that. And as you notice, that they took it even a step further. It don't need 10 bubbles. I need more than that. And so they drew in some extra bubbles and found their themes of laughter and connecting, having newness and adventure, feeling proud, feeling safe. The one on the right is from Suzanne, and she says, I didn't follow the directions exactly as stated on the page, which we always tell you take what you need, make this your own. She said instead she reflected on how her passions and joys throughout the years have changed. And so she did that reflection with her bubbles of joy. So yeah, feel free to make more bubbles if you need them. Color these in, make them joyful. We've got, look at all these wonderful things there on the left: journaling, laughing, writing, being in nature, reading a book. And then you start thinking about what's the commonalities? What do you see in that? And why do you think that is? Do that little extra reflection on that. The one over there on the right, they, noticed when they wrote those things in that well-being, resilience, and creativity brought joy to their life, and kind of put a little practice step below that. Like, how can I make this happen more often in my life? And so I love that. And then finally, this is that last one, and found some great stickers to sum up their little bubbles of joy. So I'll put on some music while you work on this, and please share what brings you your ultimate joyous, giddy feelings, because somebody else may say, "Oh, me too." I love the call out that Adrian just put in the chat. She says, I'm gonna take this in to therapy with me because I tend to enjoy doing things for others, looking for approval instead of for myself. And so I think that's what's so powerful about when we see these pages in our journal. We're like, oh, bubbles, fun. But man, when you start thinking about what do you do for your joy, not for others' approval. It can get kind of deep. So, Adrian, I appreciate you being so open and sharing that. Kind of gives us all permission to maybe take a step back and really consider um, what our joy looks like. Is it our joy, or like you said, is it looking for approvals in ways that may not be the best? So, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us because it helps us kind of be, wise as we dig into these pages. So yeah, as you're popping along, we'd love to see your bubbles or your ripples in Sonder Club, as well as your alphabet of kindness. Would love to know how you're planning to use that. If you're going to take it into the holiday season, throw it into your December journal in some way. I would love to see that. So share in Sonder Club. And I know this hour went by so quickly. We always want to remind you of this beautiful life coaching service app that we have in case you're looking for a little extra in your personal journey. Remember your code for all things on the Silk and Sonder site. The Black 20 is your code for that. And Jennifer just dropped the link to the YouTube channel for all the social recordings. This one will be posted after, probably shortly after we log off tonight. I'm really honored that you chose to make a little time in this busy holiday week. I know it looks different from our regular week. So thanks for hanging with Team Jennifer tonight, for taking care of our very last portion of our kindness journal prompts. And I wish you a beautiful week filled with Thanksgiving and gratitude. And just know how much we love this Sonder community and how honored Team Jennifer was to spend it with you. We'll see you for monthly setups before you know it, friends. Have a great Thanksgiving.
I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world